Good morning to everybody. Welcome everyone and thank you for joining us today for this international level webinar. The most respectful trustee of our trust, Parama Pujya Guru Mahanta Swamiji, Honorable Chief Patron and Chairman of our Trust, Dr. Satish S. Jigjaniji, Honorable Patron and inaugurator of today's one-day international level webinar on responsible citizens in restoring ecosystems in the drylands, Sri Ashok S. Tarsatji, respected President of this webinar, Principal S.N. Policy, Sir, well-known international agroeconomist, scientist and researcher, Dr. Chandrasekhar Biradar, Sir, the convener of this webinar, Professor B.N. Chaudapur, the organizing secretary of this webinar, Professor D.S. Talikoti, Madam, IQC coordinator, Dr. B.A. Guli Sir, NAC Coordinator, Professor S.V. Gurmat Sir, faculty members and delegates. It is an honor to me to have a chance to give a keynote address on this one-day international level webinar. I wish to thank and appreciate wholeheartedly the members of this webinar organization committee for organizing such an important and wonderful event today. Healthy ecosystems clean our water, purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate the climate, recycle nutrients and provide us with food. They provide raw materials and resources for medicines and other purposes. They are at the foundation of all civilization and sustain our economies. My dear friends, today's webinar is an important burning issue on environment throughout the world. That is responsible citizens in restoring ecosystems in drylands. Drylands are lands areas which receive relatively low amounts of precipitation and areas in which annual mean potential evaporation is at least 1.5 times greater than annual mean precipitation. They are broadly defined as land areas with an aridity index value of between 0.05 to 0.65. Dryland can be divided into 4 subtypes based on aridity index: dry, subhumid, dry, semi-arid, arid and hyper-arid deserts. Drylands occur in all the continents, covering 41.3% of Earth's land surface. However, 72% of the global dryland areas are confined to developing countries, while only 28% within the industrial nations. First of all, we need to change the widespread view of drylands as wastelands. Dryland ecosystems provide water, food, fodder, fuel wood, shelter and medicinal plants for many of the world's poor. Drylands also provide a number of globally important commodities such as gum arabic, frankincense and cashmere. Ecotourism, when properly managed, is an important food insurance policy. Over 30% are our major food crops including wheat, barley and other cereals, as well as livestock originate in the dryland. Drylands provide a precious restore of genetic diversity in wild crop relatives. Many drylands, medicinal plants, and other useful plants, animals are already contributing to both local and global economy. But the values are rarely reflected in decisions taken about drylands. The dominant land uses in drylands are rangelands and croplands, jointly accounting for 90% of the dryland areas, while forests and woodlands account for 10% of the drylands. These land uses in turn support integrated agro-pastoral and silvopastoral livelihoods of more than 2 billion people, which is about 1/3 of the world population. Apart from provisioning services, dryland ecosystems provide different regulatory services including water, pollination, and seed dispersal and climatic regulation by sequestering and storing vast amounts of carbon in the soil. Plant biomass per unit area of drylands is lower than many terrestrial ecosystems, but total soil organic and inorganic carbon reserves in drylands compare 27% and 97% respectively of the global soil organic and inorganic carbon reserves. Furthermore, drylands ecosystems play an important role in shaping cultural identity and diversity of their inhabitants, as well as development of unique dryland farming systems. I would like to share some important things about dryland degradation. Among them, they are: what is the extent of degradation, what are the drivers of degradation, and what are the impacts of degradation. Dryland degradation is a widespread and a serious threat to the livelihoods of millions of people, particularly in developing countries and the global environment. The United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification defines land degradation as a reduction or loss in arid, semi-arid, and dry subhumid areas of the biological or economic productivity and complexity of rain-fed cropland, irrigated cropland, or range, pasture, forest, and woodlands resulting from land uses or from a single process or a combination of processes including arising from human activities and habitation patterns. Alternatively, according to the land degradation assessment in drylands, land degradation is defined as the reduction in the capacity of the land to provide ecosystem goods and services over a period of time for its beneficiaries. Globally, it is estimated that 10 to 20% of drylands are already degraded and about 12 million hectares are degraded every year. Particularly, it is a semi-arid zone which has the largest degraded area, adversely affecting the livelihoods of considerable number of people. Worldwide land degradation affects about 1.5 billion people. Out of these, 250 million people reside in drylands and about 1 billion people in over 100 countries are at risk. The number of people affected by dryland degradation may increase substantially as estimated number of people living in dryland environments will increase from 2 to about 3 billion by 2021. These people include many of the world's poorest, most marginalized, and politically weak citizens. In addition to the areas and people directly affected, dryland degradation has adverse impacts on non-dryland areas also. Land degradation, which is a serious threat to dryland ecosystem, is complex environmental problem that combines a natural and social cause-effect cycle. Land degradation is driven by human activities, adverse climate conditions such as extended droughts, population increase, natural forces through the periodic stresses of extreme and persistent climate events, and human mismanagement of sensitive and vulnerable dryland ecosystems. Occasional droughts and long-term severe droughts can both aggravated by the influence of one of the important environment. Drylands are sensitive to degradation, and principal process of land degradation include erosion by water and wind, chemical degradation and physical degradation and biological degradation. Although globally water is the main agent of soil erosion in many arid and semi-arid areas, wind erosion can be substantial and even the dominant agent of soil erosion. Climate change may aggravate dryland degradation through alteration of spatial and temporal patterns in temperature, rainfall, solar radiation, and winds. In addition, dryland degradation is associated with the biodiversity loss and contributes to global climate change through loss of carbon sequestration capacity. It is estimated that 300 million tons of carbon are lost to the atmosphere each year from drylands as a result of degradation. The consequences of land degradation include decline in soil productivity and food production, famine, increased soil costs, decrease in the quantity and quality of fresh water supplies, increased poverty, political instability, and others. The knowledge is a key component of the human being and of the interactions between human and ecological systems that lie at the heart of the dryland management. International programs widely recognize dryland restoration as key to combating global dryland degradation and ensuring future global sustainability. While the need to restore drylands is widely recognized and large amounts of resources are allocated to these activities, rates of restoration success remain overwhelmingly very low. Advances in understanding ecology of dryland systems have not yielded proportional advances in our ability to restore these systems. To accelerate progress in dryland restoration, we argue for moving the field of restoration ecology beyond conceptual framework of ecosystem dynamics and towards quantitative predictive systems models that capture the probabilistic nature and ecosystem to the management. To do this, we first provide an overview of conceptual dryland restoration frameworks. We then describe how quantitative systems framework can advance and improve conceptual restoration frameworks, resulting in a greater ability to forecast restoration outcomes and evaluate economic efficiency and decision making. System models for restoration don't replace conceptual models, but complement and extend the modeling approaches by enhancing our ability to solve restoration problems and forecast outcomes under changing conditions. Such forecasting of future outcomes is necessary to monetize restoration benefits and cost and to maximize economic benefit of limited restoration. The term restoration and rehabilitation are used interchangeably in the literature. The term rehabilitation describes best of for most of the remedial activities that have been conducted in degraded dryland ecosystem. Generally, ecological restoration is regarded as an effective way for the enhancement of both diversity and provision of ecosystem series and consequently contributes also to sustainable development. Moreover, rehabilitation of drylands enhance the adaptive capacity and resilience of local communities and ecosystems. The first step in the rehabilitation of degraded ecosystems should be identifying and addressing the drivers of degradation that lays the foundation for sustainability of rehabilitation endeavors. In general, the rehabilitation strategy for dryland ecosystems depends among other factors on the intensity, duration, frequency and scale of perceptual and availability of propagules. In general, due to the limited water availability, the rehabilitation degraded drylands is more challenging and slower than ecosystem recovering in moist areas. The rampant degradation of drylands calls for concerted rehabilitation efforts involving several stakeholders with both government and non-government. All stakeholders should have clear division of tasks, rights, costs and benefits in order to avoid confusion and replication of efforts. Particularly, local communities who are affected most by restoration projects should participate from project conceptualization to implementation and management. Their participation is crucial for the long-term success of restoration endeavor. Furthermore, strengthening local organizations will enable local people to implement and sustain rehabilitation activities. Rehabilitation operations should also consider local people's short and long-term needs and value systems in order to sustain their participation and interest. A trade-off may be required to meet the needs of local communities and ecological objectives. This implies that local socio-economic needs should be taken into account when choosing rehabilitation approaches. Most restoration efforts in drylands have concentrated on research scale, addressing the intricate issues pertaining to restoration separately. Addressing dryland rehabilitation at the landscape level takes into consideration the biophysical and socio-economic linkages and trade-offs existing between the different land uses and provides a comprehensive and long-lasting measure to reserve land degradation. Above all, local communities' participation, incorporation of traditional ecological knowledge and practices, consideration of local people, short and long-term needs and value systems, clear division of tasks and benefits, strengthening of local organizations are crucial not only for cost sharing but also for the long-term success of dryland rehabilitation endeavors. Healthy ecosystems are essential for sustaining life but more being degraded at alarming rates worldwide. Our ability to restore degraded ecosystems is central to regaining the essential goods and services provided by these ecosystems. In spite of substantial importance and effect, restoration of degraded dryland ecosystems remain mostly unattainable. Conceptual models have provided a basic for understanding and improving dryland restoration success. To be useful to managers, these models will need to be advanced to allow for identification and development of site-specific solutions to restoring ecosystem. Structure and function, great opportunities for improving our ability to restore dryland ecosystems exist by combining conceptual models with systems modeling approaches. System models can help overcome restoration limitations by allowing site-specific outcomes to be forecasted and enhancing our ability to identify and solve site-specific problems. Communities and civil society need to be engaged and supported to secure ecosystem restoration across scales. Public and private funds can help communities secure land tenure and support local investment in ecosystem restoration. These may be encouraged based on payments for ecosystem services or in response to voluntarily environmental performances and certification commitments. Education is also vital to ensuring that future generations benefit from a greater understanding of nature and appreciation of its value. We, of course, need to address climate change. The greatest strength and opportunity in the drylands are the people that live there. It is essential to empower local people and fulfill their rights if they many threats to dryland ecosystems at local levels they are to be resolved. These rights are the basis for sustainable drylands conservation and need to be coupled with the concentrated efforts at national, regional and international levels to support dryland conservation and combat desertification. The UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration aims to catalyze a global movement among local activists, women, youth, private companies, financial investors, researchers, governments at all levels. My dear friends, the beauty of restoration is that it conveys a message of action and hope, and it can be happen at any scale, whether a backyard of plot, a city park, a river valley, a national forest, or a globally threatened ecosystem. This means that all citizens, that is, everyone, can get involved in the restoration of ecosystem in the drylands. With these few words, I would like to thank the organizational committee and others who have done a wonderful work during this one, and I will thank you all for your patience hearing, and I will say namaskar to all of you.